final decision on both items?
Absolutely. This is purely a recommending body. By law, it stops here first for your recommendation, either up or down or another variation of that. But ultimately, the final call is with the Hiram City Council.
Just to be clear. Thank you. So do I have a motion to be made on application 2025-23-Z, City of Hiram, for the rezoning? And there are 5 listed stipulations if you choose to move forward.
I make a motion to approve the B2 zoning with the 5 listed
I
stipulations.
have a motion to approve. Mr. Leggett with 5 stipulations and a second for Mr. Callahan. All in favor? Motion passes 6-0 and 1. And that is with the 5 listed stipulations. Then I need a motion on application 2025-10-SUP for the City of Hiram.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve.
I have a motion to approve from Mr. Aston.
Second.
I have a second from Ms. Fitzgerald. All in favor? All opposed? Well, I'll say all in favor one more time, just so I got that. Thank you, okay. So the motion passes 6-0 and 1 and will be forwarded to the City of Hiram. You will need to call their office and speak to the zoning administrator there to determine when the public hearing would be held for this application there. It would also more than likely be on the same date if they're going to consider the annexation, but they won't do that one without the zoning having taken place. And the applicant does need to be present there for it to be heard. Anybody who has a vested interest in it should be there as well. Mr. Robinson?
All right, next application, 2025-24Z. Also, this is the City of Hiram. Application by MGT Properties LLC requesting to rezone 1.36 acres from R55 Active Adult Residential District to B2 Highway Business District to allow for the future commercial development of the site. Property is located in land lots 388, 389, 404, and 405, District 2, Section 3, southeast of Charles Hardy Parkway, also State Route 120, and southwest of Village Boulevard. It's in Commission Post 3, as well as the City of Hiram. It's recommended by staff for approval with 5 stipulations.
Applicant present?
That's correct.
Please sign in, state your name, and you know the drill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Commission members. I'm Kevin Moore here on behalf of the property owner and applicant, MDT Properties, for this application. I think the screen that's in front of you does the best job of explaining this application. As Mr. Robinson stated, the parcel that's highlighted for you there is currently zoned R55 in the City of Hiram, and we are seeking rezoning. The actual word is rezoning back to B2 in the City of Hiram. That 1.3 acre tract, if you see the green tract that is all zoned R55, that was rezoned in Hiram in October 22nd of 2024. And this 1.3 acre tract was inadvertently included as part of that R55 rezone. I wasn't a part of that, thankfully, but eventually the owners realized, and the future residential developer and commercial developer realized that the 1.3 acres had been included in the overall site plan for the R55 development. This particular portion, the 1.3 parcel that you're seeing on your screen, did not have any improvements on it. It was not identified as additional green space or additional open space or any part of the actual development. It just got included, and nobody seems to really know how that miscommunication occurred. But as they move forward to prospective development and sale of the commercial parcel on Charles Hardy Parkway, they suddenly realized they were down 1.3 acres, and it had been included. So this really is to rezone it back to B2. It was zoned B2 previously. It goes with the parcel in front. It's supposed to be overall almost a 3-acre tract. It's needed for the development of the front. When you look at the zoning map, you see right here how the B2 zoning lines up along Charles Hardy Parkway. It should rightfully really include this parcel just from a mapping standpoint. But it really does need to be B2 so that it goes with the front parcel and gives it enough acreage to be developed appropriately under the B2 zoning. That's the basis for this application. Again, it does not affect the R55 zoning and development plan at all because it got caught up in it in that plan, but did not show any improvements, doesn't show any use of it whatsoever for any infrastructure at all. This parcel, has access, it would be part of the one in front of it that you see going out to Charles Hardy Parkway. All three parcels that I've been talking about have the same ownership, so this is just a correction matter. But unfortunately for the owner, once zoned, you gotta still go back through this process, and it's not simply something that we can correct by the stroke of a pen on a map. Given that, I would appreciate and respectfully request your recommendation to rezone this back to B2 to be forwarded to the Hiram City Council. Any questions, I'm certainly happy to answer those if we need to.
The 5 stipulations listed just by,
Yes.
you're agreeable to?
Yes, those 5
stipulations.
stipulations, thank you for asking that, Mr. Chair. The applicant owner is agreeable to the 5 stipulations.
And or maybe so bold, do you care to, can you, or are you at liberty to say what the owner's intended use for the property is in the commercial application? I was part of some conversation with that.
Right.
I just didn't know if that has changed.
That has, my understanding is it's not changed as of yet. That part of bringing that future use and development to fruition is making sure this 1.3 acres of it can be included, because their plan for some medical and office buildings and commercial use there would be, it's necessary to have this portion of it included.
All right. Are there any questions to the applicant, to the planning commission?
Will there be any access to it from the R55 zoning?
None whatsoever. This will be accessed entirely from Charles Hardy Parkway as part of the commercial office development. Thank you for that question.
Some of the questions. Oh, I'm good. Any questions? Hearing none, you may take your seat.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that wishes to speak on behalf of this application? Hearing none, is there anyone here that wishes to speak in opposition to this application or may have questions, comments, or concerns? Hearing none, this time I'll entertain a motion on application 2025-24-Z for the city of Hiram. Please keep in mind the 5 listed stipulations recommended by staff.
I make a motion to approve with the 5 listed stipulations.
Motion to approve with 5 stipulations from Mr. Aston, second from Mr. Wicks. All in favor? Motion passes 6-0 and 1. Again, you will need to call City of Hiram zoning administrator to find out when the next public hearing availability will be.
Yes, thank you.
And Mr. Robinson.
Okay, next application, 2025-25Z, application by Nebo Road Properties LLC, requesting to rezone approximately 43 acres from A1 Agricultural District to R1 Rural Residential District for proposed development of 28 lots. Applicant has also requested several variances as a part of this application. Property is located in land lots 1231 and 1290, District 2, Section 3. Proposed site is located on the north side of Nebo Road and is east of the Oregon Highway, which is also State Route 61. It's in Commission Post 1. Staff is not opposed to the rezoning of the property to R1, but we are concerned and have, are not recommending the variance as requested. And there's also 4 stipulations.
Okay. Well, that is
And we
good.
haven't had any noted opposition on this.
The recommendation has been duly noted. I would, is there any explanation along the recommendation of denial of the variances that you wish to give?
Absolutely. The R1 district was created with a larger 1 acre plus lots. It was, the district was designed to have larger lots with larger road frontages and larger building line. In this case, the minimum building line and road frontage is 100 feet. They're asking to reduce those. They're also asking to reduce trees in the front yard, sidewalk requirements, which is required actually as a development regulation because they're so close to the school down the road. And they were increasing the lot, making it more narrow and pushing it more than 4 times greater in length. This felt like that was trying to get another category from instead of the R1 district.
Thank you very much. So at this time, is the applicant present? If you would please come around, sign in, state your name, and address your comments to the chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Dwayne Eady, and I am representing Nebo Road Properties on this piece of land. What we are doing is that we're going to divide this into 28 parcels with 27 lots. The 28th parcel will remain a 3.5 acre parcel that will continue to be used for farm-type purposes with outbuildings included in that. We also intend to do some remodel work to that existing home so that it's more attractive. The other 27 lots, we intend to build homes that are at least 1,600 square feet with 2-car garages. And all of the homes will have, all of the new homes on the 27 lots will be 4-sided architectural. And we also intend to do, sidewalks. We intend to not have the sidewalks as streetlights, which is consistent with the R1 zoning as well. In reference to the variance that we're requesting, we are asking for these variances primarily because we did a level 2 soil survey. And to our surprise, the lay of the land was a little deceptive. It appeared the soil would have been much better than it was. And it turns out that it's very problematic in a lot of areas, which caused us to redesign the lots. Each lot is still 1 acre, 1 full acre, but they had to be redesigned in order to have adequate soils on each lot for a septic system. So honestly, we're not too excited about the lot configuration ourselves. We would rather have a different one, but this is kind of what the soils dictated to us. What we intend to do is that if we are approved for the zoning and we can move forward, is that we'll obviously be getting a level 3 soil survey, and at that time, we would like to reevaluate this, and hopefully something more would come out of this besides what came out of our level 2. But for right now, our best knowledge is that with the level 2 is that this is the only way that we can make these lot configurations work. So that's why we're asking for 13 of the lots to be less than the ordinance specified width of the street, and 11 of those 13 to be less than the ordinance specified at the building line. It's not going to be much below what is there, but it is going to be slightly below that. We want to make them as wide as we possibly can, because obviously that helps with building and selling. So it's advantageous to make them as wide as we can, but the soils are causing us to be very restrictive on that. Because of those lots being narrow as they are, we're also asking that for those particular lots, not all of the lots in the neighborhood, but for those particular lots, is that the side setbacks be reduced to 10 feet for all the lots that have less than 100 feet of street frontage, which will allow us to be able to put in a good-sized house with attached two-car garage, and not have to make the houses more narrow and deep, so that it would give a much better curb appeal and a much better look to a neighborhood. That's really for aesthetic reasons as much as anything, asking for a reduction to the setbacks on just those lots. Which means that that would impact 13 of those lots, which means that 14 of the lots would not be impacted by that request. The other 14 would meet the requirements for the R1 zoning. In addition to that, we have 6 of these lots that are going to be more than 4 times in length than they are width. Again, this is because of the fact that we are trying to reach good soils in the back of lots, particularly in the back of lots 4 through 9. The good soils for those, based on our level 2 study, is always all the way in the back of those lots. And so there was really no way to divide those soils up any other way other than to make them, very long and deep. And then the last 2 things on our variance is we would like to have an allowance for a hanging subdivision sign at the entrance, because we intend to build craftsman style homes, and we feel like a nice craftsman style type hanging sign would be more attractive at the entrance. And then to reduce the number of yard trees from 3 to 1. The primary reason for that is because of the fact that we do have so many narrow lots, is that we feel like 3 trees is going to be overcrowding. And as you know, over time, the trees tend to kill the grass with their shade, and you would have a lot of grass that would struggle to survive on a narrower lot if it has 3 trees instead of just 1. As it pertains to the staff stipulations, they have 4 stipulations here, all 4 of which we're agreeable to. So we would appreciate a favorable vote on this request. We feel like for the land that we're working with and the conditions under which we are dealt, we feel like that it would be appropriate to allow for some variances in this particular case.
Thank you. I would say I understand from a staff perspective that when you have a zoning category that's been duly adopted by the Board of Commissioners, the governing authority, that to begin granting variances because the proposed use does not fit neatly within the conforming requirements of that zoning district. I understand being hesitant to try to allow departures from that, because then you start establishing precedents. That would be my concern. I would also ask, the narrow lots that you see, I can see would be challenging, I can see to you would be challenging. Would there be any consideration for blending those lots by pairs to make them wider and a lot more easily accessible?
Well, that's an evaluation that we want to do when we get to level 3. And so, we would like to take a look at that, because like I said, we're not pleased with the layout of some of these lots right now ourselves. But we had our engineer work on this for a long time, trying to figure out the best way, and this is like probably the 5th or 6th iteration that we had, trying to make it as good as possible. And so we're just concerned that the level 3 is going to come back the same as the level 2, and we're going to be needing to have this type of configuration.
Are there any questions to the applicant?
Mr. Eady, do you currently build, or are you developing it or selling it to someone, or are you going to build the houses yourself?
Well, right now our intention is to build the houses ourselves. We're a small builder. We're based in Powder Springs.
Okay.
So we're not any of the big boys. We're just it's just my brother and I. So yeah, we do intend to build it.
And you do understand what Mr. Palmer and Mr. Robinson was saying about the R1 zoning.
Absolutely.
Why it was created, lots 5 through 9, and basically look like an R2 lot. They're just deep. Right. And then you're asking for a setback reduction that's even smaller than what R2 allows. So, the intent of R1 was to create the bigger lots, and it wasn't just in depth. It wasn't just to be 1 acre and be 80 feet wide, 100 feet wide. It was to be what staff and set up for, you know, their minimums. So I think I agree with Mr. Palmer. It's tough to look at some of that and look at that variance. I understand exactly why you're in that position, but, you know, sometimes you may have to lose one and widen them out and spread them. Also, you're aware this is in a mandatory sewer basin, right?
Yes.
Okay, so,
It would be subject to the same fees.
okay, so you understand the requirement of waiver of variance that you'll have to go through,
Yes.
but still paying the fees to the
Yes.
the system, okay?
Yes.
Just to make sure. And then, let's see. Did you have any renderings or anything you're proposing to build? Are you doing 2 stories, ranches?
Yeah, it'll be mostly 2 stories. There will be some ranches. We already have some people that are interested in moving in there, and that are nearing retirement, and they would like us to build some ranch houses in there. So there will be some ranch, but a lot will be 2-story.
And why did you pick 1,600 as the minimum?
Just because of the fact that was the minimum required. I mean, we typically don't build anything that small. Usually, everything that we build is 2,000 or more. So because if we have someone that comes along and they want a ranch and they have a very limited funds to work with, we could go down to, 1,700, 1,650, still build them a ranch that's in their price range.
With the, with the challenge of building ranches and their widths, it gets even harder on the 100-foot lot.
It does.
And so the reduction of the setback, but the topography here is a little challenging too. So
Very.
to try to get those ranches in, I don't see that working 5 through 8. So, that's where I see the biggest problem currently looking at it. And with some of the variances, specifically, the longer lot, I get why you're doing it and why you're trying to get there, but, would you be opposed to increasing the square footage?
Of the houses to what number?
1,800?
Yeah, that's not a problem.
Okay.
Any other questions from the planning commission?
I got a question. On your engineer drawings that you were doing, you said you went through several renditions or reiterations of this, and that's kind of where you came to this, trying to maximize the topography and maximize for the information that you had on your level 2 soil study. Did y'all happen to run a lot count if you were to adhere to the variances as listed in the R1? What your total lot count would be?
If we eliminated the variances, it would reduce it probably by about 4 or 5 lots, which would make the numbers extremely difficult to work.
Well, of course, I always typically bring information when it comes to a development from a school system's perspective. This particular lot these lots will feed into our Nebo Elementary School, our South Paulding Middle School, and our Paulding County High School. The current numbers on our occupancy of those, Nebo is sitting at 94% capacity. South Paulding Middle School is our lowest capacity middle school, which is right across the way from this one, sitting currently at 85% capacity. The Paulding County High School is sitting at 118% capacity currently. With that, I asked one of our internal individuals to kind of help me keep track, because one of the things we talk about developments and we talk about independent applications, but I think sometimes we lose sight of all of the ones that are running concurrent or the ones that we're looking at in the future. So currently for this area that affects these 3 schools, we're currently looking at 5 tract developments that will feed into Nebo Elementary School that are not filled. Those are developments that do not have capacity or 100% capacity in development, meaning there are future kids that would be coming from those developments. There are 11 that are coming to the middle school side, and there are 23 that are going into the high school currently, as currently zoned or districted. So some of these developments, we again are forecasting them out. Some will not come to fruition until potentially even well beyond 2030 or beyond, meaning we are under capacity for the elementary school and the middle school currently, barely at the elementary school, but we are over capacity for the high school. And as we track these, those are developments, as we continue to add to that list, those are more and more developments that will add to those numbers, that will therefore increase those total student lots, or student counts inside of those schools. So again, that's the question is, when you look at a piece of property and you look at the tough terrain, we understand the topography and all of that, but I agree wholeheartedly with my constituents that you look at variances and you look at circumventing or trying to take those variances out to possibly pull a couple of additional lots in there. It's just, again, adding to the overall lot count, which is understandable. That's what you're wanting to do for your parcel.
Well, and we're also going for R1, which is a much less dense use than most of the other applications that are coming through for zoning. They're mostly wanting to go R2.
And it's 100% true, but as it sits right now, you got a difference between a potential R2 going to an R1 or an R2 going to an R3, but this is an A1 going to an R1. Therefore, there's nothing there now. Whatever you do, it would increase.
Are you through?
Yes, sir.
I have questions for you. It doesn't show anywhere in the legend. The green lines are creeks. It's been a long time since I've been on that property with Bobby Jackson. At one time, there was a lot of wet weather springs there, and he had cattle and horses on that property. What are your green lines showing here now? Is that still the creek buffers?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
And we only found one wet weather spring, and it's the one there closest to lot number 3. The other ones are runoff from adjacent properties.
Because that property kind of, all of it kind of sinks down toward that, and that's part of your problems, that you're gonna have a septic tank, because in the heavy rain condition, there's a lot of water goes down in that area. On that staff, does this portray adequate stream bank buffers?
The site plan adheres to what's
It does
required
adhere to
by
it.
the state and Paulding County on street buffers.
It looks like their road system there is really close to it in several places, is one question I had.
They're in some instances real close to the 75 feet.
Thanks, sir.
Mr. Eady, did you consider dropping that bottom street and fronting everything on one street in your design with your engineer? I mean, if that saved you a considerable amount of cost, I mean, you could drop a lot or two and get your width and everything. You would have to cross those stream buffers with your culverts for your driveways.
Yeah, crossing the stream buffers is going to require pretty sizable culverts.
Right.
And that would be very cost prohibitive.
But if you eliminated the cost of that street, that could offset it too.
Well, it would offset some of it, but the culverts have gotten so expensive that it would still be 3 or 4 or 5 times as much.
And then Mr. Robinson, hanging signs, R1 doesn't allow for a hanging sign.
What he's asking, not in the zoning ordinance, but in our sign regulations, that signs for subdivisions and such should be a monument style.
That's
So
also,
it might be possible that the hanging sign could work close to a monument style. You just have to see if it moves.
and if she brings that to you for when he permits the sign, through the building permit office, you can look at it.
Right, and there's also opportunities to waive it or vary from it at that point also.
Okay, because that's a development requirement.
Well,
Whereas the
it's
sign ordinance requirement.
right, but the sign ordinance does refer back to the zoning board of appeals.
Okay.
I'd like to ask Mr. Jones, DOT, this is very close to the entrance to South Pollen, and there's a hill and, just a short sight distance, especially if someone's turning left. Does it meet our standards of what they're proposing?
Again, that'll be determined during the plan review process. They'll have to satisfy the requirements for access regarding intersection site distance, looking to your right and left, coming off any drive.
Thank you.
Mr. Robinson, back to the one statement that Mr. Edie had mentioned, and in his intent letter, he's talking about sidewalks. Sidewalks aren't required in R1, but if you're, do we still have something that requires them?
That is a requirement under our development regulations, that if you're within a mile of the school system, you have to provide sidewalks
Internal.
along the frontage and internal.
Is it, it's within a mile of
It is
sidewalk?
within a mile of.
About half a mile.
So with no curb and gutter, Mr. Jones, how do you typically build the sidewalk internal?
Again, I think, can you hear me, James?
Yep.
You have the zoning requirements, and then you have development regulations. There's certain, like here, there's no sidewalks in zoning because of that. I don't believe we can require them to put sidewalks internal due to that. That would have to be a stipulation added. There was a stipulation added to this particular case by DOT to add sidewalks along the frontage of Nebo Road.
But internal, under another ordinance, it requires it within a mile.
That's the development regulations.
Right, I think that's
So-
what George is referring to.
There's
That would
zoning.
not be a variance here, it would be a request
Okay.
for a waiver.
And I was just trying to make sure Mr. Eddy understood that. I don't know if I'm saying it right. You hear Eddie?
That's right, you got it
Sorry.
right, thank you.
That you understand what I'm asking, that like, we've had for a long time, like I said, you're within a mile, you still have to have the sidewalk, or you'll have to go through some type of waiver or variance request
Right.
outside of this process.
We were trying to keep the neighborhood to have a rural feel, because that's a rural property right now, so that was part of the reason for that.
And that rural field is where the R1, you know, with where it was developed, and again, back to the water lots, the 125 width requirement, so
Right.
not reducing it to 100 or reducing the side setback, so
Right.
it doesn't appear that I'm the only one really not in favor of that, so.
Any other questions to the applicant from the planning commission? Hearing none, you may take your seat.
Thank you.
Thank you. You do have some minutes remaining if you choose to come back if necessary. Is there anyone else here that wishes to speak on behalf of the application? Hearing none, is there anyone that wishes to speak in opposition to the application or may have questions, comments, or concerns? If you would please come around and sign in, state your name, and address your comments to the chair.
Good afternoon. I'm Raymond Phillips. I'm here on behalf of Elise Phillips. I'm representing her today. She's has a house directly across the street, just if I'm looking at north to south, south of the entrance. So, Mr. Wicks is, I would echo everything that he said about that. And my question would be, if we had A1, what development can be done on A1? I think it pretty much has to stay the way it is, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
If you go ahead and ask your questions, and we'll come back around to address them to the staff.
Okay. So, we're currently busting at the seams, and we all know that. We have a piece of property here that is zoned A1, that currently cannot have another house put on it. We can't have another child going to school, we can't hardly afford the infrastructure that we have now. And yet, we're gonna consider taking a piece of property that's zoned A1, that nothing can be done, we can't put one house on it. I say that, I don't know, I'm asking. But we're talking about putting 26, 30, whatever there is. And I don't blame the developer here, I get it, totally. But I think it's time to go to another county to try to do these kind of things. We do have zoning, and they're there for a reason, and they're valid. And part of it was to do what we're talking about doing now, which is let's slow growth a little bit. You know, and right now, we can slow it by 20 some odd lots. Because even to consider the development from A1 to R, and we know we're not doing R2 because it just is not conducive for R2. That's why we're even going to R1. That's why they're considering it. But to say that we're considering it is, I would say, is a little bit shameful. To me, it's kind of cut and dry. It's like, we know what we got. Let's stick with what we got. We're talking about, everybody in this room should agree that we need slow growth in this county. And right now, we got one that we can just absolutely say no to. If it was zoned a different zone in R1 or R2, I understand it's a different ball. We have to just kind of make it the best we can. But right now, we can leave it like it is. And so I say, if it does go, I would ask that the developer at least allow some consideration for some landscaping in Mrs. Phillips' yard, so that when cars coming in and out of that driveway, there of that subdivision, would at least be blocked from lights coming into her house. That would be the only consideration that we would have. That he would allot some amount of money, whether he do it, she do it, or whatever, that would be something that would happen. But my plea is that this zoning just stays just like it is.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
If you would, please.
the A1 district, the minimum lot size is 5 acres, so in this case, it could be up to a maximum of 8 units. One thing also to keep in mind, this tract has been known for agricultural uses. I know the current home out there, the tract would be left out there for what was intent was farm type use. The type of uses for that new R1 district that's approved would severely limit any farm type business or activity on that property due to the size.
All right. Any questions from the planning commission?
I have one more question for Mr. Jones. The applicant is requesting, access to Nebo Road without an acceleration or deceleration lane. Shouldn't those be part of the process with a turning lane because of the proximity to the school and the amount of traffic that's in that area?
Right, the DOT did not agree with those stipulations. The county has a left and right turn policy for developments. The policy is based on local roads over a threshold of 6,800 vehicles a day or any collector or arterial roadway. Nebo is a collector roadway, so any request to negate that would have to come through as a waiver request to the development review waiver committee.
Thank you.
Did you have another comment, Mr. Phillips?
No, I'm good.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here that wishes to speak in opposition to this application or may have questions, comments, or concerns? Hearing none, I'll go back to the applicant. You do have minutes remaining. There was a request for consideration that if this were to go forward, if you please come back. If this were to go forward with approval, would you give consideration to adding landscaping that would essentially help blind the lights from shining into neighboring property owners' dwellings?
Yeah, we would be glad to have that conversation for sure and see what we
The
can
case
do. to
specific
accommodate them.
was Phillips' house, but I would assume
Right.
that would be applicable.
It is, and, you know, there's also a possibility that we could slightly move the entrance one way or the other to help to alleviate that as well. So we'd be more than happy to look into that and see what we could do to mitigate that issue, that concern.
Well, and again, you did have some minutes remaining if you would like to speak about any point that was brought up either by the opposition that was presented or by any of the questions or points of relevance you find
Yeah.
may be relevant.
Not really. The only thing I would say is that, you know, originally we did want to go to an R2 zoning on this. We were going to go to an R2 with, we were going to go with more lots than this. The soils really don't allow us to do that. Once we realized that we were going to have to go to 1 acre lots, plus there's a moratorium on R2 zoning right now, we felt like our best option then was an R1, and we felt like that would be more palatable to the neighborhood and to the county.
Are there any questions to the applicant?
I got one.
I got one more.
Mr. Aston?
Yes, on your variances, do you agree voluntarily to remove any of these variance requests before we vote?
Well, the number 4 and number 5, you know, they're not, you know, they're not gonna directly impact, our lot yield and the financial viability of the project. If 4 and 5 went away, you know, we would be okay with that. But 1, 2, and 3 are kind of, you know, a linchpin to making this work financially.
Your level 3 gets worse. I mean, does it make it unfeasible for you to do the project? I mean, if you don't receive the variances, and then if you don't receive a favorable vote from this party or this board, or from the board of commissioners, are you still pursuing the property to divide it under A1 into the potential 8 lots that Mr. Robinson spoke of?
Yeah, we already own the property. Yeah, I mean, all options would be on the table at that point.
Any other questions to the applicant?
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
So at this time, I will entertain a motion on application 2025-25-Z. There are 4 listed stipulations. There is the reference to a 5th with regard to landscaping. If it is voted to approve, that would help obscure headlights into neighboring properties. And then there's also the consideration of, if it is approved, are you approving it with the proposed variances or approving it with denying the proposed variances? And of course, the other option would be to deny it altogether, just to determine how you want to go forward with the motion. So do I have a motion?
Mr. Phillips, if we approve the zoning and deny the variances, what is that? Without him agreeing to it, what is that?
The recommendation would be just R1 zoning, no variances from the R1 requirements. So it would simply be, if he had not asked for any variances, it would be simply an R1 approval recommendation. So if you approve R1, you can deny all the variances or select few. It's entirely up to you. But if you deny all of them and approve R1, it goes forward as R1.
I make a motion to deny application 2025, or 2025-25Z and all listed variances.
Okay, I have a motion to deny the application by Mr. Wicks. Is there a second on that motion to deny? Second. I have a second from Mr. Callahan. All in favor? All opposed? The motion to deny has been approved, 4-2-1. Again, this will be sent back to community development for them to determine if it will move forward on the board of commissioners for them to make determination, whatever the applicant decides to do as well. Does that conclude? No, we have zoning business left, so sorry. Please get with community development after the meeting to determine what the next steps are for your application.
I'll just introduce the next item is,
I honestly thought I already said that, sorry.
That's what I wanted to do. Okay, Dane's going to.
Our last item today is a text amendment. It's to get your recommendation on ordinance 25-07, which is a text amendment to the Unified Development Ordinance. We did advertise a change to Title I definitions. We are working feverishly to get the development regulations incorporated into the entire Unified Development Ordinance, and we're hoping to be able to adopt that in December. We want to have a section that has every relevant definition in Title I, but we are not complete with our development regulations definitions, so we will not be voting on that today. Today's text amendment is one item. If you recall, in August, we presented you a new overlay district called the Technology Park Overlay District. This is you've probably seen a lot in the news about data centers. This was our efforts in working with, a Cartersville, Bartow County attorney who has worked with some data centers to get ahead of some of the things as it relates to noise, to water and electricity usage. And when we adopted the Technology Park Overlay District, we had 995 acres. It was 12 separate properties, but located in 3 distinct areas. And all discussions that the Board of Commissioners has had, we would be willing to entertain up to 4 data centers. We have not received any applications for these, and before I go into detail about the property, the only item we have today is to add 1 piece of property to the overlay district. When we came to you in August, the State Department of Community Affairs had put a pause on considering a data center a development of regional impact. Did some research today, and in 2 days, they will be voting to reinstate data centers back into the development of regional impact process. The name is Technological Facility, which includes data centers, and it would require any, in our area, any data center that is 300,000 gross feet or covering more than 200 acres would be required to go through the development of regional impact process. All of the properties, I believe, that we look at are in excess of 200 acres. The property that we are seeking to get added to go from 995 plus or minus acres to 1,314 plus or minus acres is this property right here. This parcel would go in under the boundaries, but this parcel would require an additional requirement. It would require a mandatory 200-foot buffer. In addition to, the ordinance says 100-foot buffer. With this piece, we would like to see a 200-foot buffer. That's pretty much the summary. This would be the 12th edition of the Unified Development Ordinance, and hopefully we'll be seeing you in January for Lucky 13. And I'll be happy to answer any questions.
The 200 feet doesn't apply to any of the previously stated.
Not at the present time.
Any other questions from Planning Commission? Think we're good? So at this time, I will open the floor to public comment for part of the public hearing. If anybody wishes to speak, you would line up at the lectern. And as you get to the lectern, sign in, state your name, and address your comments to the chair. The floor is open. Hearing none? Yes, sir, if you would.
Good afternoon. I'm Todd Palmill, and I live on Cold Lake Road. I was just made aware of this last night with a phone call. I know there's probably been something put in the paper and so forth, but I got a phone call from somebody and I was made aware of it, so checked out a couple things this morning, so here I am. I have a couple questions, and then maybe you could get some answers, either from the staff, yourself, or the Board of Commissioners that are in the room here. One, I'd like to know why this was added. Is this something that the county's adding, or is this something that the owner asked to be added, for one? Two, are we doing, is the text amendment, I assume we're just adding this parcel to it. The other parcels are already been approved for that amendment. So I'd like to have that answer. You know, we've dealt with a couple of things on Coal Lake Road on this particular piece of property not too long ago, trying to annex it into the city of Dallas, the property owner was. And we worked pretty hard on that. I'm not a fan of the developer. I'm a good neighbor. I'm a good neighbor to my neighbors. I'm a good neighbor in the community. Developer's not a good neighbor. That's hard for me to say because I like to be positive about things. Facts are facts. I say that because a development like that we would have to deal with for a long time. There's a lot of water issues back there. Lakes, watersheds. And we're really not interested at all in having a data center back behind us in our community. I have been in government before and I understand how it works. But I also think sometimes we need to make sure the citizens are aware of what's going on, more than just something in the newspaper. I'd like to have those answers, and then I'll reserve the rest of my time unless somebody else uses it. I may have a few other questions, if you don't mind, Mr. Palmer.
Does anybody else wish to speak or stand at the lectern? So hearing that, we generally will take public comment, and then I will generally go back and answer questions that I've collected through the course of that public comment. So if you, I guess I can hold off for just a minute.
Okay.
Mr. Phillips, any problem with that?
That's fine.
So the questions that I've received is, why was it added, meaning the property, to the list of properties? And then, was this something initiated by the owner or by the county? And then, are the other parcels already approved and this one is just being added to that? Now, I can pass that to you, Chris, or if there's someone else that would need to speak on that.
First of all, back up, this overlay district came into being with the board commissioner vote a few months ago. It included originally 3 parcels. That was, a lot of input came in from research on data centers. A lot of information come from one of the property owners regarding possibilities out there, and so that took place a few months ago. The current owner of this property I guess he was trying to figure out an option to do with it. He's approached the county and asked that this would be placed on an agenda. I think the county's, looking at different economic development possibilities, and that, and with a lot of research in there, this was something that might become possible, and that's why it's here today for you to consider with public input, which is great, and for the board to ultimately consider.
Okay. So the question is, it was requested by the owner to be considered for adding to the list of properties. The other properties are already a part of, have that designation.
That's correct.
All right. And it was initiated by the owner. Mr. Parnell?
Thank you. I guess all I have to say at this point, being unprepared because of not knowing anything about it until last night, y'all can look at that area and see what's around there. Our infrastructure wouldn't handle it, and I can get into all kinds of things about that, but that's not something that our community needs to have. There's other places that have been pushed in the county to do different things that it could be better suited. But that's not something that myself and my neighbors are interested happened there. I don't think our roads, the way you get into that property, they can only get in on Coal Lake Road unless he was to do something different. That was the big issue that they had with annexing it into the city of Dallas. That's the only access that you have. There's no other access. There's two places on Coal Lake Road. There's about 318 acres there. It's a beautiful piece of property. It's got a lake on it. It's also Pumpkin Vine watershed. And one of the Pumpkin Vine watershed dam structures that was done on down from there years ago, about 50 years ago. There's also property down at the other end of the road that's already been annexed into the city of Dallas. And there's about somewhere around 750 homes to be built on the, I guess that would be the west side, down at the end of Buchanan Highway, down into Coal Lake Road. So anyway, I would just ask, you know, I'm not sure how the other properties came about. I don't know if you guys heard that first and then went to the board of commissioners. Is that correct? And so I would just ask that you would deny that today, especially the fact that the owners come and ask for it. And there's no, you know, there's nothing that any of us, any of my neighbors, anybody knew anything about it. And I think that that's a process that needs to happen. So we're asking for denial.
Thank you.
Don't put that on the list. Thank you all.
Where is your property relationship to this?
I'm, right there, the two triangles that you can see that are lighter. Down on the left.
To the bottom left side of it?
Mhm.
So it looks like it's surrounded by residential subdivisions, and on the north side, looks like there's a couple large parcels of ag property on the north side of that.
There is, and, you know, the applicant, when we did the city of Dallas, withdrew from there, but one of the issues, and I know that's not the same thing we're talking about, but one of the issues was our road, Coal Lake Road, in the county. He went to the city of Dallas because the county wasn't gonna approve it in the county. But yeah, it's all, it's a, you know, kinda like where you live, Mr. Ashton. It's just, it's where we live. And, I don't think it needs to be added to that list. All right, and I would appreciate it very much. Thank y'all.
Thank you. So I'll ask one more time, is there anyone else that wishes to make public comment on this proposed text amendment? Hearing none, we will now close the public comment portion of the meeting. And then we will ask for a motion with regard to the proposed zoning text amendment from the planning commission.
Would that be denying both parcels or just one parcel? How would that?
Ms. Robinson, you want to speak to that?
In this case, it would be the one parcel here is presented.
Okay.
That would not be a part of it.
Because the others were already approved.
The others have already been approved.
And what is the zoning of that parcel now?
This current piece is zoned R2 suburban residential.
So if he could get the access, he could go ahead and build houses on it now, is that right?
Now, this is an overlay district. The base zoning would remain intact. It just provides another option.
All right, thank you.
So I would call for a motion.
I'd like a motion to deny that one parcel.
I have a motion for Mr. Aston to deny the text amendment for this parcel being added to the overlay district. Is there a second on the motion to deny?
Second.
I have a second from Mr. Callahan. All in favor of the motion to deny? All opposed? So the motion to deny passes 4-2 and 1, and will be forwarded to the Board of Commissioners for their consideration.
That will be December 9th at
December 9th at 2 p.m. Actually, I had it written down this time. Mr. Robinson, does that include
I
normal
just want
business for us?
to thank everyone. This is our last planning commission meeting, unless something arises this year, and I'm grateful for all y'all and appreciate what we've done this year. Next scheduled meeting would be January 27th, 2026.
Well, I'm going to take a little bit of liberty at this moment. I want to extend my appreciation all the way back to 2007. Carmen Rollins recommending me to sit on this board. I have been doing so for every consecutive year since. And I've been chairman, privileged to be the chairman for quite a long while. I don't even care to call the number of years that happened. I was late to a meeting and I was volunteered for this position. And I do also want to thank not only Carmen Rollins and the council, my current council, and my mayor, Frank Graham, for being supportive and indulging in the time that it takes to participate here. I also want to thank all of the Post 4 commissioners that I have had the privilege to serve under, from Wayne Kirby to David Barnett, Brian Stover, Tony Crow, who's no longer with us, Dean Schneider. I do appreciate very much your support in keeping me here, but I am at this point going to be stepping down. And I think that we will be served well with another selection, I have no doubt. But to the staff of the county that I have had the privilege not only to work these 19 years with in this capacity, but 11 years prior to that, I thank you all for your support and working relationship that I have with you from the city of Hiram back into your organizations here. You have some of the best professional staff that you could ever hope to have. And I hope, and I do believe, the majority at least, hopefully all of the Board of Commissioners recognize this. I'm a little bit biased because I have family members that also work for the county. But not just for that, you have people with very high integrity. Whether they get it right every time or not, they do so from the point of view of always trying to do what's best, in their opinion, trying to do what's best and exercise the best for Paulding County and its citizens. I have never seen them be in a position of not trying to do something and cover it up. They have always been transparent. Maybe sometimes you need to look a little harder in the newspaper. I would agree with that. Maybe town hall meetings need to be a way that you go at some point. This is actually longer than I had intended to be, but I just want to express my deep appreciation for the county, the Board of Commissioners, and the staff, and the City Council of Hiram for allowing me to do this, as well as my partners up here on this board. I do thank you, and I appreciate your support, and I'm not going to belabor it any longer, so I'm going to ask for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn your last meeting.
Second.
Thank you. Motion, did you get that from Mr. Steele, and a second from Ms. Fitzgerald? All in favor? Motion passes unanimous. Thank you.